Good evening, everybody. 143.2 The Foot, Brad Bibbles. This is Camp Hilo After Dark, and we're here, Camp Master Hilo himself, as we have been for the past 3 weeks, and as we will be until the conclusion of this season of Camp Hilo. Camp Master Hilo, welcome to the show.
Brad! It's been so long. I've missed you so much. How are you? How's the fifth wife?
We're actually still on the fourth.
Hey, that's my dog.
Hey, but everything has an expiration date in terms of my fifth publisher before they ended that relationship with me.
I'm so sorry.
No matter, such is life. No need to be sorry. Such is life. Anyways, Camp Hilo. What an episode.
Thank you. This was one of our more lax weeks. You know, some weeks are very intensive, very fast paced. You know, we saw that last week, right? It was a rush to the finish, right? The sprint, not a marathon conversation that we had. Last week, of course, we talked about it in the context of a marathon, but in terms of like burst potential, I'll say last week was a sprint on the grand marathon that is Camp Hilo. You know.
Yeah.
But this week was, you know, you've just come over the hill, right? Now you're coasting a little bit. This week's challenge was Big Dez, running on the theme of naming challenges around my cats. Last week was Little Bingo. This week was Big Dez. And
Big Dez.
You might ask,
if there's anything that reminds me, of how little I know about this big world, it is trivia, which is the challenge of this week.
Yes, yeah, and the Dez portion came into play because the full title moniker was Destroy the Opposing Team in Trivia. That's the best that our team could come up with for naming this challenge. But it was a pretty simple one overall. We gave trivia challenge or trivia categories. We had the campers assign themselves to these categories without knowing what they are, and then once they were assigned, we revealed the categories to them, and they had the opportunity to swap categories for half points or stay in their category for the opportunity to get full points. We took a cumulative sum of the entire team's points, and the most points wins. Kind of broke it down like that.
Now, I have to address the elephant in the room here, Mr. Camp Master Hilo. We were all students once. I remember taking the SAT. I remember taking the LSAT. Cheating. It happens. How'd you prevent it here?
Yeah, so there were no ways that we could completely erase the possibility of cheating. However, we tried to keep each question to a very tight schedule, and this was one of our challenges that was done a little bit more live, where I only gave them one question at a time. I was very aware of their time limit and how much they were spending on each question, and I tried to do the best I could to monitor them without physically being in the room with them. You know, they could have cheated. I think this was the challenge where I was I first deemed evil. They all thought the trivia questions were evil, and based on that response, I don't think any of them cheated. You know.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. What do you say to the allegations floating around that Fred cheated?
If it were any other camper, I might have thought that Fred cheated. But when I saw that the stars had aligned and Fred had gotten placed on history, I knew without a shadow of a doubt that the number of hours of civilization, 5, 6, 4, and 7, that man has combined was more than enough to get the score that he got on this category here. And truly, I think if he cheated, he threw one of the questions. I think he could have gotten 100%.
we have known Fred to be a strategic actor, and it would make sense for him to intentionally miss a question to obfuscate his cheating. But again, these are merely rumors floating around.
Brad, I don't think you heard me. I don't think Fred cheated.
It sounds like there's an investigation that's ongoing, and the results of which will reveal themselves in time.
Sure. Other high performers. We had Fred from the Wolves. We had Lilac from the Ferrets. Same category too. Um, Chris from the jumbled kind of general trivia with 8 out of 10. Britt on the Camp Hilo trivia, 8 out of 10. All really good scores. Jordan on the anime trivia, 7 out of 10. And Nico on games, 7 out of 10. Yeah, we found that the baseline, we were trying to aim for 50%. We wanted everybody to be right around the 5 out of 10 mark, because then it made the it made the potential to swap categories with somebody else worth it, right? If you think you could get at least 50% or more of the points, right? So I think we hit the nail on the head there. We had a few where some campers got 2 out of 10, 2 out of 10, 1 out of 10. Steven from the Ferrets got 1 out of 10. On sports too, that one was wild.
That is rough.
But yeah, so I think we did a good job of landing right around the difficulty that we wanted for this trivia.
And tell us, how did you come up with the questions?
Yeah, so same as last week and same as the weeks prior, and the ones that you'll be seeing coming after this. This is a collaborative effort from myself and other members of production. So we normally just have like a very small window of like a brainstorming week. Haley is one of our helpers on production. You may know her as Maya. She helped come up with the categories, some of the questions for the categories, as well as the theming, to help slot them each into a letter, right? So we asked them to assign themselves to category A through J, and then one of the little mini twists, of course, was that each of the category letters corresponded to what the category was. A for anime, B for ball, C for Camp Hilo, and so on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Brad, how are you at trivia?
Well, as I said at the top of the hour, trivia is not necessarily one of my strong suits. You know, whether it's history, whether it's geography, whether it's the schedule of my children in school, things simply don't come to me in the moment.
I got you. One trivia question in particular that I thought was interesting that nobody really noticed. Camp Hilo, one of the Camp Hilo trivia questions. We did ask, of course, if I wanted to listen to my favorite Camp Hilo companion podcast, what station might I tune into? Surely, Brad, even though you're bad at trivia, you could answer that one, right?
I think I might be able to.
Where should we listen?
143.2 the foot.
Absolutely. So we tried to sneak in a little, some advertisements here or there, keep our sponsors happy. But the Camp Hilo ones are the most interesting because our island has such a rich, history. But this was the start of what I personally would like to say is a little bit of like the Jordan arc. Jordan, one of our competitors who scored 7 out of 10 on the anime trivia, did a great job. Helped carry the Ferrets to a win. We can talk about the elimination in a second. There's people were starting what's the right word? Cracks were starting to form in the porcelain persona that is Jordan, where one of the questions, and there was a little bit of discussion about it, but not enough. One of the questions brought up Jordan's past, where in Camp Hilo Season 2, who played Jordan? And it was fairly quickly discovered that Jordan was not a regular camper. And, of course, we had the answer for previous seasons, and I myself know the answer for this current season, but nobody confronted Jordan on this, surprisingly, but it was there. Something secret in the background.
One of the beauties of this game show that you've started, my friend, is, as you said, the rich history and the degree to which secrets are right in front of you at every turn.
Absolutely. We try our best to sprinkle as many different secrets, challenges, opportunities to engage with the camp, as possible, right? And this was I like to say that this was the precursor to something a little more interesting that I think, this upcoming week and the next challenge, campers are really going to dive into.
All right, well, we'll get there eventually, but before we do, at the end of every week again, wow, the creativity of your challenges and the ways in which our competitors approach is one of the main draws of Camp Hilo. As we all know, what the people want to see is the person voted off the island.
The drama, the elimination. This week we had it's been back and forth. Our first elimination challenge was week 2. That went to the ferrets. Week 3, that went to the wolves. Week 4, this went to the ferrets, which means the wolves had to come together to figure out who to vote for. And it came down to performance. They looked at the scores from the trivia this week and noticed that 2 people scored 2 out of 10 on their team, Maddie and Wyatt. But ultimately, it seems that votes shifted more in the direction of Wyatt, more in the direction in favor of Wyatt, towards Maddie, given that she was a little bit less active and less, participant in her, less of a participant in her group, right? So it was a close one, but ultimately, most of the votes.
It's unfortunate but instructive, how this vote played out. It doesn't necessarily matter how you performed in previous weeks. The game is the game, and what matters is whether or not you won this game right here and how you performed in this game right here. History won't always save you.
Say that one more time, Brad.
No, I said history won't always save you. The words of my 6th publisher.
Gotcha. Certainly here, and I think for Wyatt, it was very it was eye-opening because Wyatt had been such a kind of forward and strong leader for the team in some of the earlier weeks, and then all of a sudden one bad performance had people were putting him on the chopping block. So I'm sure he'll definitely have to think about that moving forward.
Competitors have short memories in this game.
Absolutely.
Well, everybody, we're going to leave it there. Camp Hilo, next week. Camp Master Hilo, until then.
Yeah, thank you so much, Brett.
That dookie,